I had been out that night with a buddy of mine. A couple of guys came up and got me from behind.
A truckload of horse manure dumped at his garage door. A kid's bicycle sold at auction just to mock him. Richard Rawlings, the loud and proud king of Gas Monkey Garage, built an empire on roaring engines and big personalities. But behind the chrome and cameras, a bitter war raged, a war so personal that one rival declared his hatred for Richard. Get ready, because the full story of the feuds that shaped Richard Rawlings is about to be revealed. The Battle Royale, Jesse James. If there was one person Richard Rawlings might truly have hated more than anyone, or was certainly hated by, it might be Jesse James. The feud between Richard Rawlings and Jesse James, the famous motorcycle builder and TV personality, goes way back to 2007. Their rivalry began during a show called Biker Build-Off. From the very start, Richard often made Jesse the target of his jokes, even making fun of Jesse by saying he was in Texas to act like a Texan. Richard also spread rumors about Jesse's private life, including his marriage to actress Sandra Bullock, and false claims that Jesse was leaving the bike business altogether. These personal attacks showed Richard's willingness to hit below the belt, quickly escalating the conflict into a bitter, long-standing war. During the Biker Build-Off competition, Richard Rawlings and his Gas Monkey Garage team were up against Jesse James, who was considered by many to be the best bike builder in the world. Richard admitted that facing Jesse was a little bit intimidating. Richard's team, Gas Monkey Garage, was known for flipping cars, not building bikes, but they aimed to prove themselves. Richard believed that while Jesse was talented, he was out of touch with reality and beat down and old and worn out. He even questioned why Jesse was participating, saying Jesse doesn't need the money, he damn sure doesn't need any more attention. Richard felt that other builders in the competition were just using off-the-shelf parts and not truly building a motorcycle, but rather a cute fender or a neat tank. He wanted to get back to basics and build a real chopper. Richard was confident that if Gas Monkey Garage showed up with a real motorcycle instead of an event, a circus, they would win. He was pretty fired up about the competition, seeing it as us against the numbskulls in New York and Jesse James. Jesse James, known for his own tough and rebellious style, was not one to let Richard's jabs go unanswered. In a truly unforgettable and very public moment, Jesse decided to get his revenge in a stinky, messy way. He sent a truckload of horse manure, or horse poop, right to the front door of Gas Monkey Garage. This happened at 9 a.m., and Jesse even had his friends in the Banditos help dump 10 tons of horse against the Gas Monkey building. It was a clear and very smelly message of anger and retaliation, showing just how far their rivalry had gone. Jesse even signed a piece of the horse manure saying that's Jesse James's autograph and that he was putting it on the wall. This dramatic act perfectly fit the sensational tone of their public feud, making it a legendary moment in reality TV history. Richard Rawlings, never one to back down or let an insult slide, found his own unique way to get under Jesse's skin and keep the feud alive. At a car auction, Richard put up for sale a very unusual item that seemed completely out of place: Jesse James's old kid's bicycle. This auction was part of the Cannonberg collection, which Richard had bought entirely from legendary racer Denny Cannonball Cannonberg. Richard wanted to sell the collection because he could really use the money. On the final day of the auction, among valuable items like Indian motorcycles, Kawasaki triples, and a 1969 Corvette 427 ZL1, the kid's bicycle stood out. Richard added the bike to the list as a joke, but to his surprise, the bidding quickly went up to $800. As the bids came in, he was laughing and shouting, "Jesse's pretty freaking smart. Maybe I need to get into making bicycles." He added, "We're setting world records here." He used the public auction to mock and embarrass his rival, proving that the feud between them was still very much alive and personal. This incident directly showed Richard's provocative nature and his willingness to use any platform to mock his rivals, making the conflict even more personal and petty. It was hard to say who got the last laugh, as Jesse's fans were willing to pay a high price for his childhood possession. But Richard still pocketed the money while publicly embarrassing his rival. The true depth of Jesse James's feelings about Richard became crystal clear when he spoke directly about the feud. Jesse stated that he had no problem with Aaron or any of the other members of the Fast and Loud crew. His anger, he made clear, was directed at only one person. He pointed directly at Richard Rawlings, saying, "It's about this mother effer there." Richard did not manage to answer this direct accusation on camera, leaving his reaction unspoken but the tension palpable. This powerful, direct quote from Jesse James is the strongest evidence supporting the video's title, suggesting that Richard was indeed hated by him, perhaps more than anyone else. Richard later apologized for saying things about Jesse's family, admitting he regretted it, saying, "Everything I said about anyone's family, I regret, and I didn't mean to say it." He tried to shift the focus back to the car building, stating, "What this is about building bikes, about getting up and going to work every day." He apologized to Jesse from the face of all Fast and Loud crew. However, the deep personal rift between the two men remained, with Jesse making it clear his beef was only one person. The rise of a maverick and his first battles. Richard's drive to own cars pushed him to always work. Before he was even 21, he had already been a firefighter, a police officer, and a paramedic. These early jobs show a man who was always ready to face tough situations head-on. His life even took a dangerous turn in the early 1990s when he was shot while fighting off a carjacker trying to steal his 1965 Mustang 2+2 Fastback. These experiences built a tough, determined spirit in Richard, making him a fighter in all parts of his life. This background helps explain why he would later face conflicts with such a strong and often confrontational style. After his early career in public service, Richard decided to build his own business. He started a printing and advertising company called Lincoln Press from scratch in 1999. He worked hard to make it successful, and then, in a bold move, he sold it. The money from that sale became the fuel for his next big dream, Gas Monkey Garage. He opened this world-renowned hot rod shop in 2004 with a clear goal in mind. He wanted to have the #1 show on the Discovery Channel, proving his ambition was always set on a grand scale. Richard even admitted he went dead broke twice. Trying to get Gas Monkey up and running, even sleeping on my sister's couch. Gas Monkey Garage quickly shot to fame after the Discovery Channel show Fast and Loud premiered in 2012. The show became a global hit, focusing on Richard and his team finding old, broken-down cars, bringing them back to life, and then selling them for a big profit. Richard's larger-than-life personality and relentless work ethic helped solidify his status as a global TV personality and Gas Monkey Garage's reputation. But even as the show gained popularity, it became clear that Richard himself was often at the center of problems, both when the cameras were rolling and when they were not. A pattern started to emerge. When an employee had a big argument with Richard, they usually ended up leaving the garage soon after. This showed early on that his strong personality and demanding ways would lead to many clashes within his own team, setting the stage for the dramatic stories that would unfold. The Bearded Wonder's bitter goodbye. Aaron Kaufman. One of the most important people at Gas Monkey Garage was Aaron Kaufman, known to fans as the Bearded Wonder. Aaron was the lead mechanic, a true master of cars, fabrication, and racing. Richard Rawlings first met Aaron when Aaron was working in a small local garage in Dallas. Richard quickly saw Aaron's incredible talent for taking cars apart and putting them back together in amazing new ways. Richard wasted no time bringing Aaron into Gas Monkey Garage, almost from the very first day. Gas Monkey Garage had existed for about a decade before Aaron joined, but he quickly rose to become the lead mechanic. Aaron quickly became a huge fan favorite on Fast and Loud, almost as popular as Richard himself. His skill and calm nature made him a beloved figure, and many viewers tuned in just to see what he would build next. Together, Richard and Aaron formed a powerful team that made Fast and Loud a massive success, turning old metal into gold and creating incredible custom cars. Aaron's popularity and talent were a huge part of the show's appeal, which meant his departure would be a massive blow to both the garage and the TV series. But as the show grew, so did the pressure and the problems behind the scenes. Aaron started to feel trapped by the fast pace and strict deadlines that came with filming a reality TV show. He had a strong desire to work on bigger, more complex car projects, the kind that would take a lot longer to build than what the show's filming schedule allowed. He felt that the TV format was holding back his creativity and limiting the kinds of builds he truly wanted to do. Aaron himself described these growing issues as personal issues and professional differences of opinion about the types of jobs Gas Monkey Garage was taking on for the show. He stated that the show's schedule absorbs every second of my time, and he was ready to get things back to a bit more of a normal timeline. He wanted to build things at my own pace. In late 2016, Aaron Kaufman made the shocking decision to leave Gas Monkey Garage and Fast and Loud for good. It was a moment that stunned fans. He told Richard, "I had some time off, and I think I got some other things, some other cats I want to skin, some other things I want to get into." He even used a famous quote to explain his feelings, saying, to quote Stevie Nicks, "I think I have to go my own way." Aaron initially called his absence an extended vacation, but later confirmed it was a permanent exit. Richard Rawlings later said that Aaron's departure was not his decision and that it came completely out of left field, meaning he was very surprised by it. Richard admitted that moving forward without Aaron's talents would be a painstaking process and a big hit to Gas Monkey Garage. He also stated it would be an insult to everyone here at Gas Monkey who has been putting in the work these past few years to say that we can't do it without him. This public statement from Richard showed that despite the professional differences, he truly recognized Aaron's value and the impact of his leaving. It added a layer of complexity to their split, showing that it wasn't a simple case of hatred, but rather a difficult professional parting. Aaron himself stated he had no regrets, no remorse about his decision, believing it was time well spent and absolutely time to move on. He even joked that he wouldn't change anything about the last 14 years, except for maybe about 10 minutes ago, referring to the moment he told Richard he was leaving. After leaving Gas Monkey Garage, Aaron Kaufman wasted no time pursuing his true passion. He started his own business in Texas called ArcLight Fabrication. Here, he could finally take on the bigger, more detailed projects he craved, focusing especially on Ford cars from 1957 to 1979. He even got his own TV show, Shifting Gears with Aaron Kaufman, which ran for 2 seasons, starting in 2018. On this new show, Aaron was the boss, controlling the timeline and the creative direction of the builds. He also tried another show called Aaron Needs a Job, where he traveled the U.S. looking for challenging automotive projects. Aaron has continued to be active in the racing scene, participating in the Speed Energy Formula Off-Road Series and the Jimco Ultimate Slang Tour. He also became a brand ambassador for MagnaFlow and is reportedly working on a project centered on Route 66. There were even rumors that Richard, his former boss, had invested money in Aaron's new business. If true, this shows Richard's sharp business sense and his ability to spot good opportunities, even when it means working with past connections. It suggests that Richard might not have truly hated Aaron, but instead respected his talent and saw a chance for a smart business move. While their split was certainly difficult, some sources say that Aaron Kaufman and Richard Rawlings are still friends today. This suggests that their parting was more about different business paths and creative visions than deep personal hatred, adding a surprising twist to what many thought was a bitter feud. Both men have hinted at the possibility of working together again, as their separate successes have removed financial pressure, potentially allowing for a partnership based purely on shared passion. Tom Smith and Jordan Butler. The drama at Gas Monkey Garage was not limited to Richard and Aaron. 2 other important members of the crew, Tom Smith and Jordan Butler also had a very public and dramatic falling out with Richard Rawlings. Their story highlights Richard's quick temper and how he handled disagreements. The incident that led to their departure was unforgettable. A fan, who was very sick with cystic fibrosis, came to the garage hoping to take some photos with one of Richard's prized cars, a Rolls-Royce. Richard, known for being extremely protective of his vehicles, reacted in a very harsh way. He reportedly yelled at the sick fan, using strong, bad words, telling them to get away from the car. This public outburst showed Richard's controversial behavior and its immediate negative impact, especially given the fan's condition, making it a highly emotional moment in the garage's history. Tom Smith, who was there to witness Richard's behavior, was very upset and reportedly yelled back at Richard, telling him to chill the F out. Richard Rawlings, who did not like being challenged, quickly fired both Tom and Jordan just a few hours later. Richard later told TMZ that he had been having nothing but problems with the two guys, giving his side of the story. However, Tom and Jordan did not stay down for long. They quickly found a new path, becoming stars of their own reality TV show called Misfit Garage. This new show was very similar in style to Fast and Loud and featured them working on cars, creating a direct rivalry with their former boss. Here is where the story takes a surprising turn, revealing a complex side to Richard Rawlings' business dealings. Even though Tom and Jordan were publicly fired from Gas Monkey Garage and went on to star in a rival show, Richard Rawlings was actually a controlling partner and an executive producer of Misfit Garage. This meant that Richard had a hidden hand in the very show that featured his former employees, who were now his on-screen rivals. For a long time, there was clear bad blood between Richard and his former employees, but in 2023, something unexpected happened that showed how even the most bitter feuds can change. Tom Smith returned to Gas Monkey Garage for a Beer 30 Inches video with Richard. In this reunion, they talked about their past, even calling their relationship a love-hate relationship. Richard even publicly acknowledged the hard work of his former team, saying that Gas Monkey was built on the blood and sweat equity of these guys and gals that have come through here over time. Tom Smith has since moved on to work at Dallas Customs and Classic, focusing on hot rods and becoming an expert in installing AC units in classic cars. This surprising reunion shows that while conflicts can be intense, they can also evolve, perhaps not into full friendship, but into a more complicated and sometimes respectful understanding. The Roadkill Rumble and other rivals. Richard Rawlings' conflicts were not just limited to his employees or direct rivals like Jesse James. He also had a major beef with Finnegan from the popular Roadkill show, another big name in the automotive world. Many people who worked with Richard, and even Finnegan himself, openly called Richard a pompous ass and said they did not like working with him. At one event, the animosity was so strong that Finnegan reportedly flipped Richard off as Richard walked away, a clear sign of deep dislike. The beef with Roadkill stemmed from a budget Hellcat swap challenge. Roadkill put a Hellcat engine into an old Charger, while Gas Monkey Garage heavily modified a car for drag racing. There were claims that Richard cheated in a race against the Street Outlaws team and still ended up losing. The winner of that race was supposed to get showcasing rights, which meant Gas Monkey's loss prevented them from showing it on YouTube. These public perceptions and accusations showed a broader pattern of conflict for Richard, extending his feuds beyond his immediate circle and into the wider automotive community. Richard's business ventures outside of the garage also led to significant legal battles. He opened the Gas Monkey Bar and Grill, which quickly faced its own set of major problems. Richard sued the bar for $1 million, claiming they owed him unpaid fees for using his famous brand name without permission. He also stated that the bar hosted lewd events that did not fit with the family-friendly brand he had worked hard to build. Richard argued that the bar's promotional partnership with a whiskey brand in early 2019 was unauthorized and did not align with his brand image. He claimed the investors were getting a free ride off his fame while he got nothing back. In return, the bar filed its own lawsuit against Richard, saying he was trying to take over their restaurant idea and was misappropriating the bar's restaurant concept. Richard had sent a cease and desist order to the bar's owner, giving them 10 days to stop using the Gas Monkey name and trademarks. Both sides fought in court, but by August 2019, they reached a secret settlement and dropped their lawsuits. After the legal dispute, the bar reopened in 2021 under a new name, Amplified, removing all Gas Monkey branding. Richard also closed his Gas Monkey Live venue in 2020, further distancing himself from the restaurant business. This series of events showed that Richard's conflicts extended to his business partners and brand licensing, demonstrating a pattern of legal disputes that impacted his wider business empire. It is important to set the record straight on one very serious accusation that has spread online. Some videos have claimed that Richard Rawlings is a convicted fraudster and is locked behind bars. However, careful checking of public records shows that these claims are false for Richard Rawlings, the star of Fast and Loud and owner of Gas Monkey Garage. The fraud cases mentioned in public records involve other people with the name Kelvin Andre Rawlings, who was convicted of obtaining money by false pretense and construction fraud. There was also a large land fraud case involving John Dobson and Paul Gott, which resulted in jail time for them, but this was a completely different situation. While Richard Rawlings of Gas Monkey Garage has certainly faced many lawsuits and controversies throughout his career, he has not been convicted of fraud or imprisoned as claimed in some sensational online videos. This distinction is crucial for understanding the true nature of his challenges and maintaining accurate information. Richard Rawlings built a car empire and became a massive TV star, but his journey was filled with heated arguments and bitter feuds. While some old rivalries, like the one with Tom Smith, have softened over time, the raw confession of hatred from Jesse James shows the true depth of some of these battles. Richard's story is a wild ride of cars, cash, and constant conflict, proving that even at the top, the road is rarely smooth.